Hello friends, Lynn here. I plan to make a restorative yoga video with this time that we have together. I'm going to go over what a restorative class even is first, also who this class is beneficial for, and I'm going to go over tools that you can use within a restorative yoga practice that is going to make it more geared toward you, which is the whole point of yoga. It's an individualized practice. So a practice for the individual. What is going on with you? And then whatever comes up is going to be our data, our knowledge to move our practice further, to better understand ourselves. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. Who is this practice even good for, and what does restorative yoga even mean? So restorative yoga is mostly a floor-based stretch class. So what that means is a lot of times you won't even get off of the floor. You can move the legs around, you can lay down, but mainly you might not stand up the whole class. Stretch-based, what does that mean? So it's mostly 70% stretch and 30% strength. Stretching of the whole body, top of the head all the way down to the toes. A good restorative class should get to most parts of the body, and probably spend a little bit longer time on the bigger muscles of the body. So legs, our hips, our core, all around this area. So who is this class beneficial for? It's going to be beneficial for just about anybody that lives a really fast-paced life, that is really busy with their time, that is really busy with their mind, has a hard time going to sleep at night. This is also going to be beneficial for the people that sit a lot or the people that stand a lot. Those two kinds of people in general are in one way a lot in their bodies, and it'll be good to stretch it out in all different ways to get to those places that we sometimes don't necessarily know we hold tightness. A lot of us will know that we hold tightness in our neck and our shoulders because we can feel it, right? But it's hard to tell if we're holding tightness in our lower back unless it hurts, or if on our hips unless they hurt. We don't want it to get to that hurt or pain state. So restorative yoga, this is going to be really good for you. People with depression, anxiety, this video, this restorative yoga is really good for that person as well. Okay, before I spend too much longer on that, I'm going to talk about the tools that I have around me and why we would use them. I'll speak to it throughout our practice today as well, but I want to talk about them first. So I have a couple blankets right next to me. These are just household blankets. In a yoga studio setting, you might see those striped or Mexican style yoga blankets. You don't necessarily need them. Any blanket will work. So I have a blanket that I normally keep on my couch, and that's going to be really beneficial in my practice today, just the same as any blanket would be. This is a blanket that would normally go on my bed, but I'm going to use it in practice today maybe. So there's those. We can use these blankets instead of the yoga blankets, or we can use these blankets instead of blocks. So as you can see, I do have yoga blocks. The reason in our restorative practice we might use these is different for any posture we might be in. But specifically when we start out our practice, we're not warmed up, and we might feel tension, pulling, stretching right here in these knee joints. If you ever feel anything at all in the knees, I'm going to suggest that you put blocks just like so. Lift the knees until that goes away. If you don't have blocks, remember, we have household items that we can bring to our mat, such as 2 blankets, making them the same height. Even if you only feel it in your one knee, you're going to want to do something like this and leave this one out But I'm going to suggest that you put something under both knees because we want them to remain equal, an equal stretch. We'll talk about that more as we go along. You might see that I also have an Amazon box behind me. We all have Amazon boxes at our house right now because that's just about the only thing we can do right now is order from Amazon. So if you have 2 boxes of the same size, you can use those as blocks, right? Right under the knees. We might also use this to lift our hips if we needed to lift our hips. No, we're not going to do that actually. It's way less sturdy than I was thinking. Anyway, moving on. So that is the idea with tools. They can be anything around our house. It doesn't have to be something specific. These can be ordered on Amazon though, along with a strap. If you're going to get 1 block, get 2 blocks of the same size. You're going to want them. Okay. All right. So now we know what restorative yoga is. We know who it's beneficial for. And we know about tools. We know that we shouldn't sit on Amazon boxes because they don't hold our weight. Exhibit A. Okay. So let's go ahead and start this tuning in process that yoga teachers will use. Tuning in literally means sit still with yourself. So let's try it. We'll sit still with ourselves. And I'm not going to speak any longer. I'm going to let you sit with you. You might close your eyes. You might open them. If you open them, look at one spot so the eyes maybe aren't wandering. And you can start to bring in that energy just to one place, right? So go ahead and start that. You begin to notice that you need to and want to shift. Make a movement. Do what you need to do. But starting to bring the body toward stillness. It's not an exact science. Trying to slow down. Trying to sit still. But not forcing ourselves to. Listening. What do we need to move? Why does that body part want to move? Is it just resistance mentally to the practice? Or do you need to move a little bit to get more comfortable? Move in order to sit still. Go ahead and make those adjustments. If throughout this practice I hold you too long in one place, the legs are crossed for a really long time, I encourage you to bring those legs out if you need to, and then bring them back in, right? That's going to be part of our practice today. Listening to what's coming up in your body, your mind, and then adjusting, readjusting, listening to you and yourself. Okay, now that you're finding this stillness, pulling the top of the head upward, so lengthening the torso and drawing the tailbone down slightly in. What does that mean, drawing the tailbone in? Well, the tailbone can move in or out with the movement of our belly going in or out. So as you draw the top of the head up, the tailbone might point out and back, trying to pull it in just slightly. Just to stretch out that lower part of the back, not curving it out. Sit with that for a second. If you have the eyes closed, you might be able to feel the sit bones. Trying to relax the shoulders. So pulling them away from the ears toward the floor. The lift comes through just the top of the head, as if there were a string coming out of it, and it was tied to the ceiling. Start to notice, if you haven't already, how your breath is. What is it like as you sit here? Maybe it's moving quickly. Maybe it's really light and really soft. Maybe it's changing. You might feel it in the chest. Maybe down in the mid-belly. You can find out about this breath that you brought in with you today. Let's start to just lightly change it. Bringing in a little bit more air each time you breathe in. Equal amount of air leaves the body as you breathe out, sending the belly closer to the spine. In-breath a little bit bigger than the last one. And exhale just as big as the inhale. Let it be okay to hear the breath, hearing the air move in and out, whiffs of air. You might send the air in through the nose and out through the mouth if the nose is available to you. If not, however you're breathing in and out is just fine. And if you don't have the eyes open, go ahead and open them. Look at the screen. In breath, reach the arms up until you run out of space. And on the exhale, send the arms down and at the sides. So moving with your breath. Inhale, moving the arms up. Exhale, softening, moving the arms back down. I'm going to allow my breath to be quiet so it doesn't get involved in your breath. Find your movement. And then you can close your eyes and feel it. I will let you know as we move along. On the next exhale, as you spread the arms wide, pause with them out wide. So stretching middle finger to middle finger, right wall to left wall. Reaching those arms out wide, not so much that it harms or hurts, just until you start to feel a little bit of a stretch. Keep some mindfulness of the breath, where the breath moves to, how it feels, if there's a pattern in the breath. And take those fingertips and start to reach them just slightly back toward the wall behind you, opening the palm. Now only reaching the fingertips back until you start to feel that little resistance. It'll be different for each person depending upon what we do with our hands and our arms throughout our days. Okay, fingertips coming back, hands coming all the way down right next to the hips. So right outside from those hips, dropping the shoulders away from the ears, lift up tall through the top of the head. Remembering that string coming out of the top of the head. Start to imagine and think about your left ear. You might close the eyes at this point. So left ear, thoughts of the left ear. Slowly start to bring the left ear toward the left shoulder until you feel a little pull, a little resistance. Once you've found that place where you start to feel resistance, listen to, think about your breath. The eyes are feeling uncomfortable being closed. Look at that spot maybe that you found at the beginning of class on the floor or just ahead of you. Trying to focus on just one spot though. Slowly bring the head back to center, back to neutral. Lift through the top of the head once again, resetting the body. And then right ear, slowly bringing it toward the right shoulder until you feel that little resistance that we're looking for. Bring the attention into the breath. We'll speak to the breath a lot throughout class today, because as soon as we lose attention of the breath, we're probably going back to a smaller breath, the one that we started with today, which isn't necessarily a bad breath. We're just trying to use this time to practice. Right, softly coming back in, lifting through the top of the head. Hands can remain out to the sides of the body here. Notice that we can move back and forth this little rock, but it comes right from the hips and the torso remains tall. Even if we have blocks underneath our knees, this can happen, right? A little movement. So we'll take that movement and start to hinge at the hips forward, lifting through the top of the head, grounding through the hips. Hands can stay out to the sides, or maybe they even come forward. You're bringing the hands forward and the shoulders start to round in. Remember to lift through the top of the head, send the shoulders back, and then the hands closer to you. The hinge is coming right from the hips because that's where the stretch is from. A reason being, a lot of times that we want to bring that head forward because it feels like we're doing more. It feels like we're getting maybe a better stretch when we do more. Not necessarily. It's not necessarily better to get more. Sometimes less is more in this practice. Notice if you can breathe in the place that you've gone to. Just as big as before you got here. I'm going to quiet my breath so you can listen to yours. Softly come back to a neutral place. Lift through the top of the head. Notice which way you have your legs crossed. And then let's recross them the opposite way. Go ahead and take your time. Maybe the blocks aren't necessary this time. Or maybe because that other way was the automatic way we like to cross our legs, it felt better that way. Maybe this way we need the blocks. There's pull in the knees, one or the other would be a reason for putting the blocks under. Maybe there's a pull from the hips, and it's more beneficial to have those there. Remembering this position right here is a stretch in our body. So being mindful of where our bodies are at today, respectful and glad that we can be here on the floor, and then we're just opening the body up from where it is. So as you find those legs recrossed, top of the head is pulling upward, hands can start out to the sides or maybe right out in front of you, and then a hinge right forward. Exhale. Continuing movement with the breath. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, Exhale. Softly start to come back to a neutral place. Hands moving back behind you. Just enough so you can rest some of the torso weight on them. Bring a little tuck of the tailbone, so you might lift the hips up, tuck the tailbone right under, and then press the hips down to the floor, just using the body weight and gravity. A little lift of the chest here, reaching tall through the top of the head, imagining the tailbone and the top of the head coming away from one another. Any pressure in the wrist here, the mind is going directly to the wrist over and over. That means you may come up to the fingertips instead. You may move to the fist instead. Taking the wrist completely out of the equation. Not trying to harm one part of the body to help the other, but thinking about the whole body as one piece. Healing to the whole thing. Inhale. Exhale. Bring that fullness to the breath. Trying to really expand the lungs and feel in the body where the breath is pressing on. Maybe stretch somewhere. If that's not something you can feel, I want you to search in the body for something that you can. Something that's tangible. Exhale. Let's come all the way back in and move to a neutral place. We'll shift a little bit on our mats here. Maybe taking the blocks just aside. You might move a little bit further back on the mat to have a little space ahead of you. Lengthening both of the legs straight down the mat, using the hands to support you. Lifting tall hip bones, pressing down, then tall from those hip bones up through the top of the head. Take those toes and start to pull them back in toward you or toward the ceiling. You might already begin to feel a little bit of resistance, a little bit of stretch. In that case, pause here, breathe. Use this time to open up that area a little bit more, wherever it is that you're feeling a little stretch. If this is not the case, you're feeling stopped out here, if there's nothing to feel, nothing to listen for, a little hinge forward of the chest, right from the hips. The hands can support you from the back, out to the sides, or maybe forward, inviting the shoulders to stay back. Noticing the back as if it were glued to a piece of wood, or just as flat as it. If the legs start to shake in this place, doing a little bit less, trying to settle the muscles before going too far into a posture. Breathing in, breathing out. I'm going to hush my breath so you can listen for yours. backing up a little bit here. Let's wiggle the toes. Circle the ankles, both directions. Move them side to side. Lubricating all of the joints. Maybe we stand a lot. This feels really good, getting those joints moving. Maybe we sit a lot and the feet are just flat on the floor a lot. Either way, this is really good for those joints. Good. All right, a little bit more movement on the mat here. Lean over to your left side. So leaning to the left. Take your right foot and bring it back behind you, pointing the toes back. And then lean a little bit back to the right. As you do so, you're feeling a lot of pull in this right knee, even a little pull. I'm going to take that a lot of pull back. The smallest sensation in the knee is going to call for one of our tools that we brought to our mat today. So a blanket can go right underneath that left hip, lift it a little bit up. Then same goes here, over to the left, point the toes on the right foot and bring that leg back. The reason being that we're protective of our joints. As soon as we feel a little bit of pull in the joint, it's too far. It's like feeling a big sensation in the meat of the muscle. Not a lot of pain receptors here. Okay, as we found that right place in our posture today, option to take those hands back behind us. Moving in a way where you're feeling that first side, that you're resisting some of those muscles, that tissue. As you moved into the right place of your posture, notice your sensation. Is it growing? Is it settling? If it's growing, but then it starts to settle, it means you're probably in the right place of the posture. If it continues to amp up, continues to grow in sensation, maybe you've gone just a little too far, backing off just a little bit by coming forward. Notice the breath. It feels tight. It feels like you can't expand the lungs as much as you used to before you got into this place. Coming back out. If it's the other case, you feel as if the body's starting to loosen up. You can go maybe a little bit deeper. I'll give you some time here for quiet, for breathing, settling into this place. Inhale. Exhale. All right, we'll start to soften and come back to a neutral place. Take this leg out and reset with no tools at this time, letting the body tell us what's going on this new side, as if we have no idea, right? So taking the left leg back, leaning to the right. Now we're focusing on this left knee here. Any sensation in the knee at all, we bring one of our tools over to the right hip, right underneath it. Now I want to speak to balancing the body out. If there wasn't any sensation on this side, when I bring the knee back, I don't need the tool on this side. So I'll go ahead and listen to the body as it is here. Back is a little bit deeper, forward is going to be a little bit less. Moving to that place where you're starting to show signs of resistance. Stretch, a pull, something like that. Sensation might continue throughout the whole body, even when you're not in a posture. So it's hard for me to just say sensation. You might close your eyes and listen. Feel the breath out, noticing if it's changing, if the body's relaxing. Meeting your body right where it is today. I'm going to be silent for a little while to let you figure out where that is. Breathe in. Breathe out. At this point on this side, if you had noticed a difference between the two sides, one you could go a lot further back than on the other, go ahead and take this time. You can even pause the video to spend a little bit longer on that side that couldn't quite go as far. It's going to be the best thing that you can do for your body today and bringing the body back into balance, which is a major part of our practice. Bringing side to side, more in an equal place to find better balance with the hips, throughout the skeletal spine, through the shoulders, all of those joints. So take the time to do that if something like that came up on side to side. It'll be really beneficial for your body today. All right, moving on to the next place. Let's go ahead and come up closer to the top of our mat. Tuck your right leg in. Point it forward toward me, if you have the video right in front of you. And then the left leg, send it back behind. So the left leg is going to go just as far as it can today without a whole lot of force. Both hands around the front knee, just like so. All right, if you suck this leg back as far as it'll go today, and the breath is already cramped, send that knee in just a little bit closer. We have a lot of time in this posture, so you can explore deeper as we go. All right, we might bring those hands a little bit further out ahead of us. Right, finding that place where you can breathe big, taking deep breaths, and also meet where that resistance is today. This is a good place we can send in blocks too, or blankets. Blocks may go under the forearms. They may go under the head, like so. Starting to move into that place. Deep breath in here. Exhale long. In breath. So this posture has a longer hold time than others because we're dealing with bigger muscles in the body. It takes a little bit longer for it to open up. That being said, if it ever feels as if it's too long for your body, it probably is. In that case, I encourage you to come out of the posture. To respect what your limit is today, to respect your body. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention about this posture right now is that our hip is down. And many times in other yoga classes, you might have the hip up like this. The reason we want the hip down is so we protect this front knee. Find that place where you're feeling resistance, where you're feeling a stretch. And then breathe deeply. If you can't quite breathe, the muscles aren't settling, doing a little bit less, breathe deeper. And then you can always move in further. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, go ahead and notice how far you've come on this side. I'll start to slowly come out. We're in a deep posture, so take your time. Swapping out the sides. Bring the left knee and point it forward. And take the right leg and send it just as far as it'll go back without a lot of force. The hands can go around the front knee. The torso can stay right up. If you're already feeling that bit of stretch, you might walk them out an inch or 2 or 3. Or take the blocks underneath. Not trying to necessarily match the last side, but listen to this side. Feel the breath. Notice your stretch. Move in and out as you need to. Take a break. Even if you come to the mat, you'll come out of every single posture and you come back into them. You're making some big change in that day. Because one, that might be the hardest thing that you have to do is come out of a posture. As we listen to ourselves, sometimes it seems as if we should stay in it. That's going to be the most beneficial thing. But coming out of it is a mental exercise. But it's also training our minds to listen to the physical body, to listen and empower ourselves to know what's going on. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in and out. Maybe close the eyes. Maybe find your spot that you've been looking at. Listen to the body, feel the sensation. Breathe a little bit deeper each time. About this point on this side, see if it's different than the last side. You could stick your leg back further, or you came down further on one side. It's going to be most important for you to go back to the side that couldn't quite go as far today, opening it up a little bit more, not forcing it to go deeper, just right at that place. Longer time in the posture is going to open it up and soften the body. So go ahead and do that now. Even if you have to pause this video, it's going to be massively important. If that's not the case, and both sides are equal, go ahead and come with me. Softly send the legs in. Take your time. We're in a deep part of the posture. Lift to the hands and the knees. Take the hands and just reach right out ahead of you. Maybe separate the knees a little bit further, a little bit wider than your rib cage. Let your big toes touch back behind, and then shift the hips back toward the heels, head toward the floor. Stretching the arms right out ahead. Now, if the head doesn't come quite down to the floor, not forcing it, but bring the floor to you. Use a block, use a blanket, use our Amazon box. Put it right underneath the head. The other option, and if the hips going back toward the heels is harmful for your knees today, take a blanket and place it right between those big muscles, so the calves and the hamstrings, sending the hips back then that way. Head toward the floor, maybe a block right underneath the head here. Deepening the breath. Slowly starting to come up. Clearing our mat of any tools at this point. Set those all aside. Go ahead and come flat on the mat. As you come to lay down, if there's any sensation in your lower back, you might take that blanket that we brought, roll it up, place it right underneath the knees. You might take another blanket that we brought, stick it right back behind you. That's an option. And lay on it. Maybe letting the hands open toward the ceiling. Take the collar or the shoulder blades right back behind. Squeeze them underneath the chest. And at this point, we're coming into our last posture. Laying down flat on the mat is fine too. Find a way that you feel comfortable here. Let the eyes close. Lay here. Not trying to control the mind. Not trying to control the breath. But just let yourself lay. Let yourself relax. This is the timed video, so I'll alert you to come back up. So there's no need to tell time. Soften the body. Try relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the hips. Any tension in the face, you might let the lips fall apart, relaxing the jaw. Might notice a change in the breath. Now it's light, soft. Slowly start to alert your body. Bring the attention to the feet, the toes, circle the ankles. Bring the attention to the fingers, the hands, Wiggle the fingers, circle the wrists. Might send a bigger breath in. Might open the eyes, rock the head side to side. Sometimes it's nice to roll over to your side. It's a good transition before you sit up. I want to thank you all for coming to the mat with me today, or your carpet, wherever it was that you came to, and practicing, learning a bit more about you, slowing down. It's all amazing, amazing work. Namaste.